I'm happy to see so many supporters of rural and migrant ministry from everywhere in New York State. Tonight we're changing the world from the comfort of our own homes. We're celebrating justice making and justice makers. I'm not exaggerating when I say justice makers are stars. That name comes straight from the Bible, where it says, "They will shine like stars for all eternity." It's my pleasure to introduce one such star, our honoree, Nathan Berger. I congratulate you, Nathan. I would also like to acknowledge your mom, Penny, your dad, Perry, and your sisters, Maddie and Georgia. It's a true saying that the apples don't fall far from the trees. I first met Nathan in 2013 when he was doing justice making on behalf of farm workers on Long Island, where their labor accounted for the largest crop and nursery production in New York State for many decades. In spite of that boon to our economy, and more basic than that, to nourishing our bodies, farm workers were denied just wages or overtime pay for 60-hour-plus work weeks in often unsafe conditions, with no guaranteed day off, no unemployment insurance, and no right to bargain to improve their lot. Enter Nathan Berger to turn the tables on Long Island legislators who were obstructing passage of the Farm Worker Fair Labor Practices Act, stalled in Albany for years. Quite a task for a young man right out of college, but well suited to Nathan's personal mission and the education he had pursued to advance it. Growing up in Roslyn and Long Island, Nathan had opportunities and privileges that would be foreign to the daily life of a farm worker. But one childhood experience made Nathan see a different side of life, society's underbelly in a depressed area in Baltimore, Maryland. He was told, "This is the world we live in." But Nathan told himself, "People create the world that's unequal. This is not natural." Tonight's event is a reflection of the personal journey that began on Nathan's trip to Baltimore, Maryland. He was on his way to taking the step described in the subtext of tonight's event. Cultivate justice by getting to know your neighbor. Nathan intuitively recognized in college that a dimension missing in his academic education was an immersion experience in communities of people who experienced systemic injustices. He was realizing that, as helpful as dedication to community service might be, unfair circumstances afflicting many people would not be changed without transformation of systems and structures. So one semester during college, Nathan volunteered at Rural and Migrant Ministry and came face to face with RMM's mission. And I quote, "To overcome the prejudice and poverty that degrade and debilitate, to build community that celebrates diversity, to achieve true mutuality, and to fight for dignity, opportunity, and justice for all, especially for farm workers and rural communities in New York State." After graduation, Nathan tested the waters of social action in Washington, D.C. He describes it as a very lonely time. Fortunately, that lasted only 6 months. Reverend Witt called to offer him a 6-month internship that was more to his liking. It turned into 5 years of intense but energizing work. Nathan's job was to get Long Island legislators to pass the Farm Worker Bill. So he made alliances with many progressive groups on Long Island and spoke truth to power wherever he could. But Nathan credits the farm workers themselves for turning the tide. Their stories spoke volumes about the magnitude of the injustices in the agriculture industry on Long Island. Like the long line of activists before him, Nathan learned that by your students, you'll be taught. He considers himself a partner with so many farm workers, whose names are not on the program tonight. Once I get out of his way, Nathan will tell you himself of his challenges, satisfactions, and achievements on the job. Nathan has recently finished postgraduate studies at the Maxwell School for Citizenship and Public Affairs. The inner working of political systems is still the arena where Nathan wants to make a difference. Today he is on the staff of Senator Jessica Ramos, who represents District 13 in Queens. Nathan is her legislative aide for labor issues. So now let's hear it for our honoree, Nathan Berger.
Good evening. Thank you, Sister Rosalie, for the kind words, and thank you to everyone who's supporting RMM tonight. I can't thank enough RMM for giving me this honor, the opportunity to grow as a young man at the organization, and to explore different organizing and advocacy avenues while at the organization. The amount of mentors and friends I have made along the way are too many to list. Those of you who supported the work we did on the East End know who you are. I will always be proud of the work we did together as a community to build a worker center and advance the rights of New York State farm workers. Thank you. Right now, the work of RMM and other organizations working with immigrant workers, especially undocumented communities, is critical. Currently, hundreds of thousands of undocumented workers and their families are excluded from unemployment insurance and the Federal CARES Act. Without any stimulus dollars or access to the state unemployment funds, undocumented workers are left without a safety net during a pandemic, which has led to massive unemployment, death, and ravaged communities. Community organizations and houses of worship are asked to fill the gaping hole. Many undocumented workers and families dealing with lost income are left in a place of having to rely on charity and taking high-risk jobs even if they are immunocompromised. At the height of the pandemic in May, the Kaiser Family Foundation found 31% of Americans say they've experienced problems paying the rent or mortgage, or paying for food, utilities, credit card bills, or medical costs as a result of COVID-19. That number rises to 48% for African Americans and 46% for Latinos. I'm urging you all to support state legislation to create a fund for workers who are excluded from our social safety net. S8277 would implement a new tax on New York State's 120 billionaires to provide a wage replacement for a slew of different unemployed workers not included in our safety net. It would enable people to survive, stay in their homes long term, and stimulate the economy because we know that UI beneficiaries spend their money quickly. It could save millions of jobs. As the stock market booms and billionaires' wealth soar, people are being left behind and massive unrest is taking hold of our society. We need to reimagine a more equitable and fair society for everybody. I again want to thank my RMM family for honoring me. I so appreciate RMM taking the time to recognize in a flawed human being like myself the small amount of light I've been a part of bringing into this world. Y por mis compañeros y compañeras, gracias por la oportunidad a vivir, caminar y luchar por un mejor mundo juntos. Siempre yo llevaré esos recuerdos conmigo. Gracias, and thank you, everybody.
Hi guys, so today it's Steph, sorry. I'm gonna be singing for you guys Stand By Me. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is won't you stand by me? If the stars we look apart, should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no I won't cry, no I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Oh, won't you stand by me? So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Oh, won't you stand by me, stand by me.
Ok, don Juan Antonio, cuénteme un poco de su experiencia, cómo llegó a ser un trabajador agrícola. Hable fuerte para que grabe el sonido.
Doy mi nombre. Mi nombre es Juan Antonio Zúñiga. Mi experiencia que me llevó a ser un trabajador agrícola fue porque no tenía otra opción de trabajo y encontré el trabajo de la agricultura. Y estando en el trabajo allí, me gustó y vi que era un trabajo digno para mí y para mi familia. Porque a través de ese trabajo yo he podido ayudar a mi familia y sigo ayudando a mi familia. Y no me avergüenzo de ser un trabajador agrícola hasta el día de hoy. Me siento muy contento, me gustan las plantas, veo muy bonitas las flores y para mí es muy especial mi trabajo.
Don Juan Antonio, ¿cómo usted cree que esta pandemia y este momento de crisis ha afectado a los trabajadores y las comunidades agrícolas?
Mi respuesta para tu pregunta, Ángel, es que el 70% de las comunidades y trabajadores agrícolas hemos sido afectados físicamente, moralmente y materialmente, porque muchos compañeros de la industria agrícola han perdido sus trabajos, sus patrones los despidieron porque se enfermaron y no les reconocieron su salario y no los han vuelto a emplear de nuevo. Es una crisis grande en la comunidad agrícola, en los trabajadores agrícolas, y a la vez es una injusticia que está cometiendo contra nosotros los trabajadores agrícolas. No hay seguridad, no hay apoyo ni de las autoridades, ni mucho menos de algunos empleadores.
Don Juan Antonio, dígame qué es lo que usted piensa de RMM en la comunidad y su relación con los trabajadores agrícolas.
Bueno, lo que yo puedo decir que el Ministerio Rural del Inmigrante ha apoyado mucho a los trabajadores, a la comunidad, en proyectos, en educación, en llevar seguridad, llevar mascarillas a los centros de trabajo. Los han apoyado muchísimo y le agradecemos mucho al Ministerio Rural del Inmigrante que los está apoyando todavía.
Good evening. I'm Todd Crosby, Organizing Director at the UFCW. It's a pleasure to be here virtually with all of you at the Rural and Migrant Ministries Cultivating Justice Dinner as we honor Tom Clarke. You know, Tom served at the UFCW for over 25 years as an organizer, regional director, international vice president, and national strategic retail campaigns director. And I'm proud to call him my friend. You know, when he left our union 2 years ago to return to consulting work, he brought the same passion for social justice that he displayed at the UFCW. Through his work at Workers First Strategies, Tom has been an important ally for the Justice for Farm Workers campaign. Tom was instrumental in bringing the UFCW and RWDSU into the ministry's network of community allies to support the campaign, which led to the historic Farm Worker Fair Labor Practices Act. This legislation has improved the lives of farm workers in New York by giving them basic rights such as protection when bargaining collectively, overtime pay, disability insurance, and the right to a day of rest. Tom has continued to help the Rural and Migrant Ministry build on these partnerships and find new sources of funding with the goal of improving the lives of farm workers all over New York. And with that, please welcome my good friend, Tom Clarke.
Good evening, everyone. Richard, the RMM Executive Board and staff, my old friends at the UFCW and RWDSU. Over the past few months, we have all learned a lot about social distancing and wearing masks. Many of us have even learned to Zoom. I wasn't sure how to do an acceptance speech via video from my kitchen counter, so I decided to do it the way I've always done it. Think about it, write it, and read it, all while being recorded on my son Matt's cell phone. I hope it works well. I am so honored tonight to be recognized by the Rural and Migrant Ministry for my work in assisting farm workers in New York to build a better life. It is also very humbling to be recognized by an organization that has struggled for so many years for justice for rural and migrant agricultural workers. My role has been quite small in comparison with the enormous amount of work done by RMM and others throughout the 20-year campaign to pass the Farm Labor Practices Act. The unique partnership of RMM with the UFCW and RWDSU is a natural extension of that long battle to pass this historic law. It is the vehicle to translate well-meaning words from paper to meaningful action in the fields. My current work through Workers First Strategies is some of the most rewarding that I've been involved in throughout my career. It brings together unions and worker centers in a new and dynamic model of union organizing based on collaboration, mutual respect, and partnership to assist farm workers to build better lives while enduring some of the most harsh working conditions in our society. Through our work, we have the opportunity to build on the proven best organizing practices of organizing unions by partnering with organizing worker centers to build successful community-based worker organizing victories. The partnership between the UFCW, RWDSU, and RMM brings together enthusiastic participants in this new model, recognizing the work done by RMM for many years and inspiring hope and empowering farm workers to organize. Through your youth activities and your women's leadership programs, your new Rural Academy of the People, you are building and developing tomorrow's leadership today. The unions bring a vast knowledge of ground level organizing, leadership development, political engagement, and successful collective bargaining. Together, this partnership creates a powerful support system for farm workers struggling to improve the quality of their lives and their jobs on the farms. My work with my union sisters and brothers and my new friends at RMM is based on deeply held religious and political beliefs. It also is personal to me because many of the workers we are assisting are immigrants. I am the proud grandson of immigrants. I have often said that I have learned 90% of what I needed to know about the world at their kitchen table. Things like workers must stand together, always fight for what you believe in, and above all, never ever be anyone's fool. Through them, I learned about the hardships of immigration, the pain of trying to build a new life in a new land, about getting a kick down instead of a hand up. Their experience is now the experience of today's immigrants in America. Why did it take until 2019 for farm workers to get the right to organize a union in New York? Why are farm workers still excluded from the National Labor Relations Act? Why do restaurant workers receive lesser minimum wages in most states? The answer can only rest in systemic racism. Exemptions from these important worker protections were deliberate to prevent black and brown workers from building better lives. So in many ways, this is not only a union campaign in New York, but a civil rights campaign as well. To be successful, we must bring together farm workers throughout New York, supported by worker centers, students, and advocates, to build leadership through area organizing committees and ultimately strong unions. Ours must be a movement to assist farm workers to build a better life on all farms, not just on the farms that get unionized. To do this, we must bring together all of our energies. In closing, thank you again for this incredible honor. I look forward to our continued partnership, but most of all, thank you for your willingness to explore new forms of collaboration and partnership to assist farm workers to build a better life in New York. Be safe, everyone.
Good evening. On behalf of the 2.5 million members of the New York State AFL-CIO, it's my honor to join all of you this evening and to speak to all of my friends at Rural and Migrant Ministry, as well as my brothers and sisters of the Long Island labor movement. I hope you're all well and that your families are safe. I want to start by thanking my friend of over 2 decades, Richard Witt, for all that he's done through the years. Richard is a leader in the truest sense of the word. Even in the most difficult and challenging times during the fight for farm worker justice, Richard was a beacon of light. His leadership was integral to our victory. Thank you, Richard, for your friendship. And since this is a Long Island event, I want to, of course, recognize my friend and a great labor leader, John Durso. John is someone I've relied on for advice many times through the years, and he has always been there for me. But more important, he's there for his members of RWDSU Local 338, and then still finds the time to contribute to the rest of the labor movement on Long Island as president of the Long Island Federation of Labor. John, my friend, we are a stronger, more successful movement because of all that you have done and all that you continue to do for all of us. More than 20 years ago, in 1999, the New York State AFL-CIO coordinated a town hall meeting of elected officials, labor leaders, advocates, and of course, farm workers. We witnessed firsthand the deplorable working and living conditions endured by one class of working people, farm workers. The labor movement vowed on that day to help change that. Justice was finally served last year with the passage of the Farm Worker Fair Labor Practices Act. We secured that tremendous victory together, all of us. The decades-long campaign would not have been successful without the unrelenting work of RMM. We will never forget all of the farm workers who have come forward through the years, many times at great risk to their livelihoods. And today, farm workers continue to be a true inspiration for all New Yorkers as they perform essential work during this health crisis by providing food for all of us. Like so many other workers on the front lines of this pandemic, farm workers are risking their own health. We must work together once again to make certain that farm workers can protect themselves and their family members from COVID-19. And we must continue to work together to ensure farm workers can join together to have the voice they so desperately need and rightly deserve now and into the future. In closing, I want to congratulate all of this year's honorees. And I want to thank you to all of my brothers and sisters of the Long Island labor movement and to everyone who is a part of this wonderful event tonight. Thank you to Rural and Migrant Ministry for the support you've provided to farm workers over the years and for the work you do every single day. On behalf of your 2.5 million labor brothers and sisters across this state, please, everyone, stay safe and stay strong. Thank you.
This concludes the third section of our Cultivating Justice program. Please scroll down to the next video segment.